Hi, this is Dave Perry, and you're watching Retro Gaming Revival live.
Evening and good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to Retro Gaming Revival Live, our first show of 2022. Ooh. So happy New Year, everyone. Okay, before we get going, I'll introduce you to the panel tonight. And in honor of our guest, I've given everyone a name with a very similar meaning to our guest. So first up, we've got old-fashioned Destroy Touch 1. It's Nintendo Lee.
Nice. I'll take that. Good evening, everybody.
See what I've done here. Next up, we've got Historical Slaughter Splash 2. It's Triangle Face. Evening. Next up, we've got Dated Shoot Down Dart 3. It's Bananas.
All right.
Evening. And finally, come on, they're probably better than my Christmas cracker jokes. We've got Passe Murder Sprint 4. It's Dorbs. Greetings. And without further ado, we welcome to our channel and our special guest this evening, our first guest of 2022. So it's a real honor to have Ed from Retro KillDashNine with us. So welcome.
Hey, so happy.
Welcome. Evening. Welcome. Okay.
All right. Here he is.
Blunners is just showing off because he's got a new mic and camera tonight. So, he's in HD. So, now people can actually see you. They might switch off. So,
we'll meet you.
Okay. Let's see who's in the chat this evening. We have got Cabbage Face Bricks. Hello, Aaron. Nice of you to join us as always. We've got Sarah and Barnett. Evening. Welcome. We've got Sexy Sarah. Hi, boys. Nice of you to join us. We've got this individual. We've got Rob Taylor. Hi, Rob. Always nice to see you in the chat. We've got Dan Nastastic. Thank you again for joining us. We've got Ian Hobbies. Hi, everyone. And yeah, amazing. So we're going to get straight into it. So the first question, which is what we like to ask all our guests, so this is for you, Ed, is your early gaming memories.
Oh, wow. Coming off hot. Okay. So actually, my first... And this is my first gaming memories. This is going way, way back. It's when my father worked at home, and he had like one of the very first like IBM computers. Kind of talking about where there was like no like hard drive. It just had maybe 2 floppies, and maybe it was like a whopping like 10 gigahertz. Very, very slow. And so my very first gaming memories of that, he had Frogger. Totally, I have fond memories of playing that, and a Robotron, believe it or not. And in addition to that, he also had like one of those like early kind of like weird, kind of like funky joysticks, but that kind of broke early on. So I used like the WASD and arrow keys a lot. But those are definitely some of my, early memories. And this other weird kind of game called like Donkey, which trying to explain, you kind of, I don't know why it was called that, but you kind of had to dodge out of the way of like cars and weird things coming towards you. It's maybe something odd you'd find in the Evercade, but Robotron and Frogger especially. Those are my earliest. Oh, hey, Rich. And then if you want to talk about like console memories, it's kind of funny. Like the Atari 2600, it was just kind of always there. Like what I mean by that, I don't know if it was we got it for Christmas or if I got it for birthday. It was just always there. And had some games like Pac-Man and like Dragonfire, especially. Although we had like Breakout and all that, but we didn't have the paddles, which is kind of odd. So I didn't get to actually play those games until like I was able to borrow those from a neighbor who also had like 2600. And that's kind of where I was exposed to like Pitfall and Sequest and some of those other games. But those are my early. I mean, I could go on
Yeah.
from there, depending how far it went. Those are my early, those are kind of like my early like first memories that I can kind of recall back in time.
Okay, a lot of people we have on, say, the Atari 2600, don't they? And I don't ever recall anyone having an Atari 2600.
No.
I can't remember where I played one first. It was definitely as a kid, because I still remember sort of looking at the graphics. All right, we had the NES out and that kind of thing. But you can still look at something like the 2600 from playing an NES and kind of be like, yeah, it still looks okay. Like, it looks fine. It plays funny, and it sort of looks like one of those old arcade games. But I can't for the life of me remember who or where I was playing it. But I do remember it, because I remember the old wood dash front. I remember the cart going in the top, and the really painful joystick after coming from a D-pad with 2 buttons, having a joystick with 1 button, and it being a bit like, yeah, this ain't for me. It's fun, but it's a strange one.
Yeah, I don't know. It must have been big in this country. It must have been.
I think they
Yeah,
were
I
big
still-
everywhere, weren't they? It's one of those systems that I think at some point you kind of, everybody always seems to end up owning one, regardless of, like, I guess, where you are. But yeah, Atari's like the staple name, isn't it? Like, you say Atari, like, you could go into, like, over here we've got a shop called Primark, which is sort of like a budget end
No,
clothing store.
whoa! It's a high-end shop. It's
Primark.
high-end. Only all the rich people shop in Primark.
Depending upon how you
Hopefully
look at it.
they're not watching, Ollie. Hopefully they're not watching.
You know when something's got it's into the sort of popular culture psyche when it appears on a T-shirt in Primark, and they had Atari T-shirts for a really long time, and you're like, so everyone must know what Atari is for them to sort of be on a T-shirt in Primark. It's an odd one.
I've also
Yeah.
seen Vanilla Ice T-shirts in Primark, and also Craig
Yes.
David T-shirts in Primark. So
I won't
Craig
Craig
David.
David. That's embarrassing.
I owned that tape. I hate to admit that, but yeah.
well, the chap next to you models himself on Vanilla Ice, so
It's good-
with
good-
his back to
good
front baseball cap.
Fantastic actor, singer. He's multi-talented. So.
Is it? Yeah, cheers, Dean. Yep, other clothing brands are available.
Okay, so with the Atari, then, what were your sort of favourite games that you had on that? Because before you answer that, Dorbs is a very big fan of Yar's Revenge. So
Yeah, it's brilliant.
So what's funny about Yar's Revenge is I didn't play that, but I can remember seeing it. Actually, I didn't understand how to properly play it until I had it on Evercade, because I was like, what do you do with a lot of Atari games? So kind of my favorite one. So first, like, adventure, definitely, because I want to say that Atari kind of taught me a lot. Like, hey, you don't have to have really good graphics. You don't even have to have music. I mean, you're just a square. And so it was funny, like, later on, seeing like the Easter eggs and the trophy. Like, I remember as a kid, like, accidentally getting that, not knowing like how I did that. But so that game now isn't nostalgic, but as a kid, I remember I loved that. Dragonfire, especially, that game, that needs to come to an Atari Collection 3, because that was one of those games where, you start off, you go over the bridge, you dodge the fire, and then once you get in there, then it turns into the overview, and you have to get all the treasures. So that game just had like so many elements to it. I don't know, one of my favorites, another weird one. I don't know if y'all ever heard of like Warmore. I think it was called like Warmore 2, which is kind of weird that you kind of you start off, I think you're this tank and you have to like shoot, but there's like a lot of explosions and the sounds, and it doesn't have music, but the sounds and everything, it's just ridiculous. It's a weird, you just kind of I can't really explain it, you just have to see it. But and then Pac-Man, I probably played the Atari version before the arcade, and I didn't know any better, but remember going to like a buddy's house and seeing like Pitfall. That was just kind of like mind-blowing, because before Nintendo, that was kind of like the closest thing to kind of like Nintendo graphics. And then Sequest have like fond memories of that. And Breakout was amazing once you got to play it with with paddles and whatnot.
Paddle thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, as an adult, you go back and you discover other games that you missed. But yeah, definitely, those are just some of my favorites.
Did you have ET? Were you a lucky owner of the ET?
So here's what's so funny about that. I didn't own it, but I knew a friend that did, and I remember playing the game. It felt broken. Like, you would just constantly keep falling down the pit, and then the guy would take you back to the beginning. But I was like, what are you supposed to do in this game? So that's why, many years later as an adult, finding out that the game was broken kind of made me feel better, because we could never figure out how to play it or where to go. But no, I'm glad I never owned that.
That's worth a bit of money now.
Yeah, worth a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look on
man.
eBay. Look on
Do
eBay. It's well
people, do
expensive.
people not care what a game
Yeah, let me
plays like?
see.
They just collect anything now. Is
It
that?
Carry
Yeah.
on, and I'll find it
I
on
think
eBay.
it's.
Carry on.
I think what it was is because it was such a bomb, and it was almost responsible for. I mean, it was basically responsible for really screwing Atari, but it was almost responsible for just ruining like the games industry in the 80s, wasn't it? Really, the home console market. And I think Atari, there was always this rumor that they'd buried loads in the desert. They just took loads of the cartridges and
Yeah,
the
I've heard
boxes,
that.
put them in a pit, and just buried it because they just wanted to get rid of it, and that was it. They didn't want the stock. And it transpires that actually that was true. They managed to find the area where they'd buried them and dug them up a few years, like literally a few years ago, and there were all of these like dirty covered Atari ET cartridges in this hole in the desert. And you're like, wow, they actually did that. But by doing that, I think they possibly made the game very hard to come by for collectors in later life because they buried so many of them.
Yeah, they did. There's a Netflix documentary, wasn't there?
Yeah,
was,
I think
yeah,
About that. Yeah.
AVGN based basically the whole AVGN movie sort of around burying the cartridge and going to try and find it, and Roswell and all this kind of stuff. It was, and that movie's genuinely quite funny.
Yeah.
And to your point, Ryan, about people buying anything, it looks like the ones that have a high price are ones that are sealed. I don't think anyone paying like way over a cost of a game for a sealed one has any intention of opening it. So I don't think people are actually going to look to play the game, are they? They're just going to buy it because it's sealed and therefore rarer, which I don't get at all personally, but I understand that people are into that. But I just don't get that personally.
I can't see how these games, sorry, I'm totally going off on a tangent, are worth a lot of money when there's like millions of them out there. It's not like, like the Antiques Roadshow in this country where someone turns up with a World War II medal that only one person ever received. And it's like, oh, my granddad received this St. George's Cross. To me, that is an antique. That's valuable. But a game when there's a million copies of it, I don't get why there's this such massive.
I think it's if it's sealed, because there might be millions of copies of that game, but there's only like a handful of copies that are sealed, and that's the bit that makes it rare.
But even games that aren't sealed are still going for ridiculous amounts of money now.
I think we've sort of touched on it before. I mean, the other thing that we like to do is go off on massive tangents. We just deviate very quickly.
I've never done that.
Like to sort of feed off of Ryan's point, I think the thing that I've found really staggering, and it probably is more during COVID times than it has been before, but you could sort of see it before. Games like Mario 64 are not uncommon. It's a very, very common game. But it's a very expensive game now. Like a couple of years ago, maybe even 3 or 4 years ago, you could pick up Mario 64, cart only for £10 in the UK. But now for some reason it's a £20-30 cart only game, and if you want the box with it as well, then it just sort of creeps up. But there's if you went onto eBay, you could get a copy. It's not like they're in short supply. So it is a bit bizarre that some of the really popular games are also starting to go up in price. There are the odd ones that just seem to not retain any value whatsoever. So we've got a second-hand shop over here called CEX where you can trade in literally anything electronic and they'll give you some money for it. And they do a lot of retro games, and some of their prices on PlayStation 2 games are very, very reasonable. You could pick up PS2 games for 50p, like 50 cents, that kind of thing. It's very, very cheap. Wow. But they also know the market value as well. So if you go and try and buy a copy of Silent Hill 2, it's going to cost you £40,
50 quid, yeah.
But you can still go there and pick up a plethora of like good titles for absolutely next to nothing if you're just looking to pick up some good cheap titles as well. But it's an odd one.
I believe that like video games and consoles are meant to be played, and so to me there'd only be one reason to buy a sealed game, and that's because you want to pay for the privilege of like having the experience of reopening it again, like when you were a kid, which would kind of defeat the purpose of buying a sealed game. But to me though, like I understand complete in box, it's cool having the box and everything, but you need to play, you need to play the game. It's not like artwork that you hang on a wall. And I mean, people can spend their money whenever they want, but games are meant to be played. And that's what kills me when I see some people have like the sealed purple Evercade. I'm like, open it, use it. The screen is so great. Don't, if you maybe buy 2 of them, I guess, but yeah. I don't get the whole sealed thing either.
No. No.
Just think how rich you'd be if you got your copy of Mario 64 and just put it straight in the attic, your loft, whatever.
Yeah, but
Do you know
who
what I
done
mean?
that? Who done
I
that
know,
as a
who the
kid?
fuck have done
Losers.
that?
Yeah, you know, like Christmas Day when I got a game, I
Mad.
fucking
I
ripped
was
it
like,
open, shoved it into my PlayStation or whatever. I didn't be like,
yeah.
oh, let's keep that sealed, Dad. Go and put that up in the loft with all my other sealed games, and
Yeah.
40 years time, I'll be rubbing my. You know, that's not how childhood works. And people who
No.
done that, they must have been adults at the time who brought them with the hope that they would be the antiques of the future. That's all that I can say.
Yeah,
Anyway, we
Yeah.
yeah.
go,
We
go on,
deviate.
Nintendo Lee. Go on. You
No,
can have the final.
no, not at all. I was literally going to agree with that point. Yeah, there are some people that do just place a bet on something, don't they? They're like, oh, this might be worth some money in the future, so I'm going to buy a couple of them, stick them away, and see what happens. It's yeah, but it's a bit of a bet, that, I think.
Definitely. Okay, back to you, Ed. So your favorite console
Of all time, or my current?
of all time. So any console that you've owned. So from the Atari 2600 up to, I guess, the Evercade VS being the most recent console that you've purchased.
Or your dad's PC that you played Frogger on.
So
That's
I mean,
not a console. It's a PC.
Oh,
it's such
damn.
it's really it's such a tough question, right? Because for something like the Evercade to exist, Nintendo had to exist. Super Nintendo, like all those other consoles had to exist. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the VS. So so that's why I say, like, currently my current favorite console is the VS. But if I had to like go back and look at like all time, take nostalgia, I often it's a tough tie between like Nintendo or Super Nintendo for that 8-bit era or even Game Boy. But I think if I could, from my experiences, it would probably have to be like the classic NES. But obviously I don't have a Nintendo, so it's like of all time console, probably the NES. But like my current favorite one, like the VS, if that makes sense, because I actually use it and play it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Nintendo was great. It's just that light gun as well with it, and it had such a huge library of games.
And I think for me, what was so great, as you all mentioned, like with Atari and everything, but when I like saw Nintendo, it was just, you could actually see characters. You know, it was just mind blowing. And so for me, like Zelda, and why I'm such a huge like fan of that franchise, is you were just thrown in there. There was no instructions, there was nothing. Internet didn't exist. You just had to talk to your buddies, and just the freedom in that game to kind of go anywhere and just do anything. And it kind of, kind of attributed, kind of teaches you like a lot of life lessons. Like you're thrown into a world, you have to figure stuff out for your own. No one's going to hold your hand. There's no tutorials. So yeah, just for the great time of gaming. And like Super Mario Brothers 3, when that came out, that was mind blowing. So that's why I guess have to say the NES, because just there's so much memories and nostalgia associated with that.
Yeah,
that's a tough question.
Yeah, the NES it's still a great console. It's still an absolutely superb system, and I'm still discovering games on it now. And it's so good. And I think you can tell the testament of a console by getting, I guess, kids of today playing it and seeing how they react to certain things. And I've got kids ranging from all ages now. My eldest son is 18, and my middle daughter, who's watching tonight and in the chat, she's 12. And we've picked out retro games to play in the past, and we have a great time playing them. So if they're enjoying them with all the mod cons that they've got on the go at the moment, then that's a testament of a good game.
So Ed, what would be your favorite game on the?
So actually,
He's
came prepared. Here,
get a sealed copy now.
No.
Yeah. He's got a sealed copy of
I don't know if y'all can see that.
All right.
You'll know it when it gets to the title screen.
Mario Land?
Tetris. Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
wow.
And I could kind of tell you why, because Tetris for me, it's one of those games that's just, it's a pickup and play, and it's kind of like I could always like just jump in and play it, and it's always different. And it's just, Tetris is one of those games that it makes you think. And actually, in my opinion too, it kind of can help you deal with anxiety, because when you get to those higher levels, you just have to kind of block out the music and just focus on finding a piece. And it may not be so. When you play the game, you have to decide how greedy do you want to be. Like, do you want to hold out for the long piece, or you kind of have to just like pop things in the work. So for me, it's one of my all-time favorite games, because it's one of those ones that just hasn't gotten old. just go in and actually it was even difficult, like for me, like just to try to play that game on your phone or something else. It's like that has to be played on a console with proper controls, because they don't have anything else. But pretty much every version of Tetris, but that one's probably one of my favorites, that one or the NES. But just trying to like hook up and play a Nintendo and get one on modern hardware and get a working one is difficult, because like even like a lot of the clone consoles, like if the sound is off, like a really good test, if you see like Super Mario Brothers getting the coin, like if that sound isn't right. So for me, some of those, like I need the visuals and the sound to be right, or it kills nostalgia for me. So
did you ever play the
long-winded answer?
What was it? Was the one on the Switch, the Tetris game that came out, which you're playing against like 50 others?
Tetris 99, isn't it?
Oh,
Something
mate, that's 99. That's
people playing
amazing.
Tetris.
It was, yeah, it was so good. And you're basically trying to send shit their way, try and get them. And I think I never got first, but I got down to like the last 5.
And have you done the what's the VR one, Tetris Effect? I've not actually had a chance to play on that. But
I
I've
haven't.
heard good things about that. I've not played it.
No, Tetris is. I wasn't expecting that. But yeah.
Please tell me you work in the construction field because of your love for Tetris. Please tell me you make.
I wish I could.
You build brick walls.
These goes there, yeah.
Oh,
he's Russian.
No, you can
like
see
Russian
city buses here. So.
It wasn't a big gap there. Wasn't a big gap there. I'm waiting for a few bits. I'm waiting for the long brick.
That'd be funny, right?
But tell you what, that is probably an answer that I did not expect from any of our guests.
Right.
But it is like you say, it's a very, like we could all pick up Tetris and probably
Just have
sit here, and just start playing it. And I wonder if Tetris is the most played game of all time. Because it was bundled with the Game Boy.
Got to be, surely.
Yeah. I don't know how you.
I think as well, a lot of like non-gamers would play Tetris. Like they might not sit down with a Game Boy and play Mario Land or something, but they'd probably sit down and play Tetris for a bit.
Yeah, got to be.
I think
Yes.
Oh, Tim's frozen.
Tim. But no,
Tim, you're on mute.
Yeah, Tim's on mute again.
I think when I was younger, my dad, and I hope to God he doesn't watch this, but he was like, "Ryan, can I borrow your Game Boy?" When he popped into the bathroom, sit and play Tetris for like 20 minutes.
Hope he washed his hands.
Yeah, didn't wash his hands. Yeah.
Oh God, Tim's back. Tim,
Back in the room.
So I don't know how much you caught before I got cut off. My internet cable got nudged and I lost connection.
We didn't hear any of it. We just got.
Okay.
just the swear words. Yeah.
No, I was just saying that Tetris is played by a lot of people that are non-gamers as well. So I know my sister doesn't really play a lot of games. She's not really a gamer, but she had a Game Boy and Tetris, and so I think a lot more. Yeah, could well be one of those most played games ever. And if you take into account all the re-releases and remakes of it, and add that together, could well be most played game.
Something like that, and then the original tune is just very infectious. I don't know.
Yeah.
Classic. I'm not sure where this.
We're gonna get a copyright.
Not sure where this.
strike for that.
I'm not sure where this website's getting their info from. So GorillaGaming.com, as of December 21, posted the 20 most popular video games of all time. Number 2 was Tetris.
Oh
wow!
Number 1.
Number 1 was Minecraft.
Rubbish.
Oh yeah.
I can kind of see why that might be voted one of the most popular ones. I think they.
The thing is, like Minecraft is on every console, isn't it? You can get Minecraft on like anything now. It's on every single platform. You can get a version of Minecraft. You can get on smartphones and Switch and PlayStation, PC, anything.
It recently had, or YouTube did a whole Minecraft day, didn't they? Because I think it's had 1 trillion. Has it had a trillion, or I think it's had 1 trillion views? Minecraft videos in total on YouTube have had 1 trillion views. I'm sure it's something really obnoxious like that, because 1 billion doesn't sound high enough, or maybe it is 1 billion. I'll look that up.
To this day, I have never played Minecraft.
No, I haven't.
It's played like any time. No,
My
never
7-year-old, she's 7-year-old daughter got Minecraft last Christmas with a Switch, and I tried to help her build. I just can't do it. I can't figure out how you're supposed to do it. And
It's
she
terrible.
just
I'd love
goes
to
around
see that,
smashing
right.
up houses and just yeah, she's like, look at this, I found another like city, and she'll just go through, smash all their houses up, and then just walk on. That's how she plays Minecraft, which I'm sure is not how you're supposed to play it. But
I can build like huge buildings. Like the people have recreated like loads of architecture from around the world and made really impressive things in Minecraft.
Why?
I think I've seen like Wembley football stadium built on it. You know how many hours?
Somebody did build the Titanic. Yeah, I did have a quick look, and it is 1 trillion views.
Have they got nothing better to do?
Minecraft on YouTube. It's a great game, though. I have to say, I have ploughed a good few hours into Minecraft. It is very enjoyable. It's very relaxing, and the soundtrack is absolutely killer. So it ticks a lot of boxes. There's tangent number 2. There's a lot of schools apparently in the UK, and probably I'd imagine America as well. They actually use Minecraft to teach a lot of children with autism, because they have complete control of the world and the universe, and they can learn about different minerals and ores and how you combine them to actually make real life things. So it is actually a teaching tool that they use in schools as well. I think it's become that game that's just transcended everything. But yeah, it's also spawned lots of toys, and kids just want everything Minecraft related. But it is a good game. I can't take it away from it. It is good.
Ed, you a fan? Being a fan of Tetris? Fan of Minecraft?
Yes, actually. So that was actually the first game that my daughter got when we got my PS4 a couple of years ago. Me and her have played that a lot, mainly in creative mode, because you can just like chill back with split screen. You don't have to worry about enemies, and you can just build whatever and all that stuff. So, and actually, I was surprised to find out too, there's a huge speedrunning community around Minecraft as well. So that's all kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, Minecraft is one of those games. Any of us that grew up playing with Legos, it's kind of like that on steroids. So yeah,
that's
great.
Minecraft is Lego on steroids. I think that is that should just be on the front of the box, shouldn't it? Really?
Yeah. And Minecraft should give me 1% royalty for that.
So my son played it for a bit, but like him and his mates, they opened up like the Nether and all this, and they start going against this dragon and stuff. And I was like, where's this all come from? I thought it was just like a building game, but
yeah, there is definitely a minor plot to get to the the Ender Dragon and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's quite sinister in the evening. We've gone well off topic here, haven't we? Like Minecraft, unless you build a house and you put a door on it, you have zombies wandering around in the evening and goats with red eyes and also sheep with red eyes. It's quite a scary existence, unless you do it on open world like we do now and just turn off all the bad guys and you just literally just walk around smashing everything to pieces. But, which I'm sure is not what they made Minecraft for.
My niece was showing me her one. She's got a Mario downloadable content thing she had. It's basically you go in and it's the castle from Mario 64, but in Minecraft blocks. They just recreated. She was just exploring the castle, but you can get all the Mario skins and stuff on it as well. Yeah, there's loads of stuff.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah. Deviation again.
We have. Okay, so I guess the next question is, bringing us right up to the present. Why Evercade? When did you first hear about the Evercade? And what made you kind of get so heavily involved in the Evercade community?
So that's okay. So this is a great question. So, kind of throughout my life, and it starts with retro gaming, right? Because kind of throughout my life, being that, I didn't install any of my consoles. Every now and then I would dabble into emulation of my computer, then kind of go back, still kind of go back to it. And then there was a period of time with my PS4 where I was just like, okay, I just want to go on. I was just really into Call of Duty. I guess I really wanted to get back into playing first person shooters and all that. And so then I kind of, I think I played that for a couple of years and just, kind of got bored. Kind of got bored with it, and I wanted to get more back into my retro roots. And then I found that things like RetroPie exists, and then kind of heard, hey, if you have a Fire Stick, you can kind of throw ROMs on there and play stuff. And then I kind of dabbled into that for a while. But then the problem is when you spend more time configuring a device and playing games, because there's a super geekiness to that, right? Where you can go down the down the rabbit. And in my personal job, I deal with computers and technology all the time. So it's it's easy to get sucked into that. And then how I kind of stumbled upon the Evercade, I actually wanted to look for some, because I'm like, hey, I don't want what I have. And I didn't know why I wanted an Evercade. I'm like, I liked that it was a handheld, right? That attracted to me. And I didn't want the same thing that I had. I didn't want like some Chinese knockoff device without any support, and I didn't want to have to go through configuring it. And I wanted to find some YouTubers actually who were positive about it, because I found that they were like, this was but like I think like 2020. I'm like, there's got to be some people that are saying some good things about it, right? It can't all be that bad. And then that's where I kind of stumbled. I was like the YouTuber formerly known as OEB Pete. I stumbled upon his channel, and that's where I kind of found Rich, Crow Continuum, and then they're kind of talking about it. I was like, oh, okay, a lot of these issues have been addressed in firmwares and all that. And so initially, I just wanted some other emulation device, if I'm being honest, right? And then I saw they had like that deal with all the games. I'm like, oh, I want some of this stuff for nostalgia. But what I didn't know is then when I got it, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And I admit that was kind of at the time where I didn't yet rediscover my appreciation for physical media. If I'm being honest, I saw this is just another game. This is cool. This is plug and play. I can just play it. But then over time, I'm like, hey, this is a cool discovery. Like, like Namco collection, like Wartman. I'm like, I never even heard of this game. And so, it just kind of developed into a thing. And I didn't even know there was a community. Like, I wasn't even looking to join a community. And I was like, okay, cool. There's a lot of other people that like this device. There's a Facebook group. People seem to be pretty nice and open, for the most part. And then as I got into it, then it was kind of like the discovery piece. I'm like, hey, here's a great collection. Here's curated games. And, what I call the darker side of emulation, where you just start playing games and you never complete them, right? And then you kind of like, yes, you have 10 million games you can play, but then there's just kind of like this emptiness, and then you don't feel like you own anything. So now and then, and it was just kind of crazy. Then kind of getting more into, I'm like, okay, cool. These are these other collections that are coming out, and yeah. So that's I could go on. That's kind of short. That's kind of like my short long, my short long answer. And then it's like if you fast forward now, it's just kind of become, hey, if you've ever looked into, hey, I want to be able to play Nintendo, I want to be able to play like any of the older consoles, it's difficult and it's expensive. And for me, it's like I'm not a stickler for if it has to be like hardware or software emulation like FPGA, but it just has to look good, right? And it just has to have the sights and the sounds. And like Evercade, it does that. Like Double Dragon 2, like that looks and sounds exactly that I remembered as a kid. And then now with the VS, you just pop in the cards. So then as time got on, then I really appreciated the physical aspect and the booklets and all the coolness that comes with it. So and I kind of forgot to mention too the price point. It's like $20 USD, and you get great value. And then I learned over time that Blaze is one of those few companies that were kind of like developed for gamers by gamers. Like they get it. We want a system that has like physical cards, that captures the nostalgia, that has rarities like instruction booklets that we take for granted. You want something that you can just easily plug in that gives you kind of that modern retro feel. And yeah, that's why it doesn't mean you can't enjoy other things, but yeah, again, that's kind of like my short long. Yeah. Why not Evercade? But, I don't want to just say why not Evercade, because I mean, there's no other device that's like it, that has a community. And that's why I was going to say, sure, you can get something else there that's kind of like loads of bronze and all that, but there's no community around it. There's no support. I like having something that's tested. I like owning something physical, the collectability part. So yeah.
It helps you to pick what you want to actually play. If you've got like an emulation device, it's got like a huge library, it's picking the games. Whereas if you get you pick up a new Evercade cartridge and it's got like 10 games on, chances are you're going to spend a fair amount of time actually playing each of those games and seeing what you like about them, and then actually investing a lot more time in them. Because if you've got 30,000 games or something, you're going to be just chopping in and out of loads of games and not really spending the time on them.
Yeah,
it's less is more, right? Less is more.
Yeah, I think it was Dorbs that said, like, possibly even last year, with the collectability factor of the cartridges, the smartest marketing move that they did was numbering the cartridges.
Yeah,
because now the completionists, it's like, even if they don't like the collection, they'll still buy the collection, because otherwise they're going to miss number 12 or 13, and it's like they need the complete sets of things. So yeah, I think with the buy gamers attitude, I think they know what they're doing. I don't think that was a by chance thing. That was a design choice.
Yeah, that's why I got Worms and Pico 2, to be honest. For that, and at least on most of those, and that's the thing, you can at least find at least one game that makes the cart worth it.
Yeah, because Ed, actually, I've heard you say. Sorry, I'm pointing at my pen like I'm making a point here. I've heard you say no more football games. Whereas I'm like, give us more football games or soccer games.
Sure.
We need.
One thing I would say that is I think they need to be clever of like rather than doing like a football cart of just football games or something, just like chuck a football game on a cart with I think they're best off doing a mixture. Have like a shooting game, a platform game, a football game, like have a mixture of the cart so there's something appealing. Because what I wouldn't want to have is if I was trying to collect all of the collections and I don't like, say, football games, and all of a sudden they bring out a cartridge of just football games, I might buy it just because it's got the number on there, and then I've got a cart I'm never going to play. Whereas if you spread them out across the carts, I might never play that game, but I'll probably plug that cart in.
Yeah, no, I agree, because like Pico 2, for example, that's not going to be for all gamers. It's just full of sports games, that cartridge, with the exception of maybe Soccer Kid, which isn't a very good platform game, but it's still based around football. So yeah, they need to curate them quite carefully. Bitmap, free speedball games. Do you need free speedball games on the same card?
No, but Chaos Engine makes it worth it.
Yeah,
exactly.
So
pretty good actually.
3 Worms games on the same cart.
Well, I wasn't going to get the Bitmap one, but then it came with the VS Founders Edition, and I played it, and actually I quite like it. I don't think I would have got it actually. It didn't really appeal to me, but now I've actually got it, and I played Speedball, quite like Speedball, and I like Chaos Engine, so I'm glad I've got it now. But originally I wasn't really planning on getting that one.
Are you better on Speedball than you were at Sensible Soccer? Because I don't know if anyone watched Everchat, but I did beat Tim 8-0 on Sensible Soccer
8-0, absolute thrashing
over Christmas.
Awful. No, I've only had one short game of Speedball. I was playing against my wife, and I think she beat me 3-0, and I was like, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Non-gaming wife was that?
Oh yeah, non-game. I mean, she's good at Mario Kart. She's very good at Mario Kart. She
And
can beat most
Speedball, by the
people.
sounds of it.
And
Nice.
Speedball. She doesn't really play anything like first-person shooters and stuff, but apparently can beat me 3-0 on Speedball.
Is that the first time she ever played it?
Yeah.
First time I'd ever played it. But you know,
No, but Ed, the point I was making about football games, I totally understand where you're coming from with that, because if you're not into football, and I was using Tim, sorry Tim, I did triangle face. I didn't mean to use you as a 8-0 example, but you don't play football games. You've never grown up with football games. So they need to be careful with putting too many soccer games on.
Yeah, I mean, there was like John Madden. I've had some fun playing RBI, but not as much. I mean, for me, like the kind of the sports games that I like NBA Jam, like something like it has to be like outrageous. It has to have like that arcade, you know, kind of like that arcade feel, like something like that, or like the Mutant League Hockey, Mutant League Football were kind of great. But I did enjoy like Blades of Steel for NES though. So it has to be. I kind of has to be a game, like a sports game with a gimmick, or it has to be like really fast, kind of fast arcade pace.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, NBA Jam is just a prime example of a game where, you know, basketball's. I mean, it might be bigger over in the UK now, but basketball, when NBA Jam came out, wasn't really a sport that many people in the UK watched at all. Yet people in the UK love NBA Jam because it is just frantic, fast fun. It's absolutely fantastic.
But who here in the mid-90s owned something Chicago Bull related? We all had Chicago Bull baseball caps.
It's on fire.
Yeah.
Razzle dazzle. Yeah. But no, my first look at the VS was when we were around Jules Ryan, and tell you what, we were really impressed with it. Like I think we've already said before, but and when we all played Worms, like we actually thought, just chucked it on. I came in halfway through. You guys were playing it, and it was really good fun because you're all just like ganging up on people, and it was just a good laugh. Like Tim and the ninja rope, that was just like ridiculous, but like moving this little worm thing around. Yeah, it was really, really good. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, because with the VS, when you guys came around over Christmas, somewhat, I don't know who suggested put the Worms cart in, but I was like, why do you want to play this? It's rubbish. I've played it on the handheld. And then we put on Worms Armageddon, and Worms Armageddon is actually an excellent multiplayer game. Really, really good. I think, you know, like between the group of us, we were like, you know, off our feet, like jumping around, you know, like, you know, in excitement, which is couch co-op, which is what which is what the VS is made for.
I was quite surprised actually that so many people have reacted like to Worms, because I was always a fan of Worms as a kid. I was always intending on having the Worms cart, but a lot of people was like, oh yeah, I don't think I'll play Worms, don't think I'll get the Worms cart, and they're always pleasantly surprised when they do play it. But I was quite surprised that so many people didn't have that much love for Worms. I thought it was far more popular a game than I realised. I thought everyone
It's classic. I had it on Amiga.
Worms.
Classic game.
Yeah, I think if you had it on a computer of some sorts, it was a real riot. But it was a real shame because we loaded up the original Worms on the Evercade cartridge, and it's the Mega Drive version. And immediately the music doesn't sound right to me. And I never had Worms on the the Super Nintendo or anything like that. I would go to my friend's house after school and play Worms on his PC, and that had a very the sound sounded great. It actually sounded like like a piece of music rather than the tinny sort of Mega Drive sound that's sort of renowned for. So loading up that first game of Worms, it was like, this doesn't sound right, it doesn't feel right, what's wrong? It's like, so everything's changing and I don't like it. But then firing on Armageddon, it was like, there we go, we can settle down now.
I went to go play Worms Armageddon this weekend at a Retro Pi box. It's got the N64 version. Went to go play multiplayer, and unlike when we played on the VS the other day, it didn't have any pre-made teams. So you had to go and make the teams first to then start a multiplayer. And the teams had no names. You had to type the names in. And instead of a screen of letters, it was like scrolling back and forth to find each letter. I was like, I can't be bothered to do this. It's going to take absolutely ages. So
ABC.
You didn't make the RGR one. You didn't make an RGR one then, no?
Yeah, I mean, I will do eventually, but it's just I thought, I can't be sit here and make 4 teams.
Nobody got time for that. Yeah.
Give me pre-made teams at least. Yeah, I was surprised by that.
Ed, so do you have a favourite cartridge on the Evercade? Is there one that ticks every sort of gaming box for you?
Yes. So definitely. So for me, like the Intellivision cartridge is definitely like one of those, and it's one of those. So for me, like I want to say even here in the U.S. it was more of a rare system. Like I never owned one. I knew a buddy that had one, but kind of at the time though, I kind of played it more for novelty because we were like way more into like Super Nintendo and Nintendo, but it was like, hey, here's this kind of crazy system with better, almost like Nintendo type graphics. So it was kind of neat. Like for me, it was nostalgic in that way, just the style of graphics. Like it looks like like computer style graphics. It's like, especially something like Thunder Castle, and just, games like that, Knife Stalker. You can just like jump in, jump out. And it just has a bunch of like crazy games. So that's one of my current favorite carts. And so for me, it's always changing. Because the other thing I should mention too is, it's like my really old age, but as I've gotten older, my attention span for games isn't there as much when I was younger, right? So the kind of thing that I like about the Evercade is the mystery of the new carts. But some things, like if I go through and complete it, like replay value is important. So that could, maybe 6 months from now, I may say, I played the Intellivision cart to death. It isn't as nice and shiny as the next is the next thing. So that one, Xenocrisis, though, that I still keep going back to that. And actually, I let's say my next video I'm coming out next week, I did top 10 games in 10 minutes, and I had to go through and replay a bunch of games. Like, do I still really like Xenocrisis on the VS? And I'm like, I still do. So yeah, that's
Ollie's favorite.
Yeah, it was one of those. I said it on the stream the other week, but Xenocrisis was one of the reasons I eventually took the plunge to get an Evercade. I was quite late to getting it, waited for the model to sort of see if they were going to fix the bugs and some of the issues that everybody had at launch, which they did. And you're like, all right, cool, I'm kind of interested. And then Xenocrisis cart comes out, and you're like, but it's the cheapest way to get a physical version of Xenocrisis, to buy the 10-pack bundle and Xenocrisis. It's still cheaper than buying the Vita version that I was kind of after. So that was it, and it's a great port. It works very, very nicely. I literally got my VS like yesterday or day before yesterday, so I have yet to actually sort of plug it in and play it on a TV, but I'm very excited to try that.
It's excellent on the VS, and I guess it's it is a twin stick shooter. I mean, even though it doesn't actually have like 2 twin sticks, but yeah, I'm trying to beat that. I'm trying to beat it on hard.
With Xenocrisis,
even on normal, it's difficult enough.
It is.
Sorry, Ed. I was playing with my missus yesterday, and we were playing multiplayer, and she kept out high scoring me every time, which was embarrassing enough. But we were doing it on easy mode, and we only got to world. She is a gamer, which is what I had. We only got to world 3 though. I don't know how many worlds are in there, but we couldn't progress past that.
I think there's like 6 if I remember. But for me, though, like Xenocrisis, I mean, it also checks those boxes for just like Smash TV and all those other games. But one of the things, so for me, so here's and maybe one of the reasons why I voted like on my list something like Codemasters didn't get assigned. Again, those aren't the mega versions. Is that for me? I like challenging games. I like bullet hells. I like one hit kills if the controls are solid. Like that, like the play control is everything. If a game is difficult because the controls are wonky, and I just feel frustrated because of that, like that, it's difficult to adapt to that. But if a game is just challenging, like Xenocrisis, like over time, you can learn the enemy's patterns and you can get better at it. It's difficult to get better at a game that maybe the controls aren't as good.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than dying in a game because the controllers messed you screwed you over.
Yeah.
If you die because you generally just made a mistake, then fair enough. If you die because the controller didn't respond properly, it just feels so unfair.
It's always the controller's fault.
Yeah.
That's what you were saying when I beat you 8-0. It's this bloody controller. That's what.
Mine's Resident Evil when you're trying to bring the arm down. It's like come on, they're coming, shoot them. It's like frustrating.
Okay, so just finally on the VS, I just want to get your thoughts, Dorbs, because I know you came over when we played it. I know you had I don't know, you had an idea of what your opinion would be before you played it. So what are your thoughts now, being someone who's not massively pro Evercade? What are your thoughts on the VS?
I love it.
Yeah, obviously I've had a love-hate relationship with Evercade and Blaze and whatnot. It's better than I thought. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to be an idiot and just slag off for the sake of it. But yeah, it's better than I thought. But then I've seen people with quite a few issues with some carts and some consoles. But I had fun playing it. Not enough that I would keep my one personally because I've just sold it. But yeah, I would give it probably. It was fun playing with us. I'm not going to deny that. It was really good. So that was a 9 out of 10. But overall, give the console probably 7 out of 10.
Okay, well, that's better than I thought. How long did you play Astro Smash on your own without even handing the controller over there?
I reckon for about half an hour.
Exactly, 7 out of 10. 10 out of 10. You couldn't get off that bloody game.
I really enjoyed Astro Smash. I really enjoyed it. Surprisingly, I remember when I saw the advert for it, I was like, "This looks absolutely terrible. This is going to be garbage." And I remember we put it on for a laugh, and a couple of minutes in, I was like, "I'm really enjoying this." Yeah, Astro Smash. I'll give that. That's probably an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed Astro Smash.
Astro Smash is a great game to play while you're drunk, for sure. Because
we had a few ciders, but
because during the holidays, I was on the couch playing the Purple Evercade, and it was just awesome because it's one of those games that's chill, and so so it just works well. You just have to. It has very bright colors and everything. It works really well. I mean, you can play it sober too, of course, but it's one of those games where you won't die right away if you play it.
Yeah, it's enjoyable, and I quite liked Sly Spy as well. Quite like that one.
Yeah, we love that.
That was good. I enjoyed playing that as well because that's quite funny. Just
you completed it whilst you. I don't think anyone else had a go on the VS. This is you.
I think Ollie completed Sly Spy. I'm sure he did.
I did. Yeah, I had a couple of missions on Sly Spy. I quite enjoyed that. I liked. I think it was Ali 16 Bits and Bobs the other day when we were. Sly Spy came up in the chat. He put up that when you're on the swimming level, it's like you're a mermaid because you just sort of cracking game. Absolutely, that was really good fun.
Yeah, what was the fighting game you played? Fighting game.
I can't remember which one it was called. It was clearly a Street Fighter.
Oh,
Didn't they got sued by Capcom or something, but they got away with it.
Fighter's History.
Yeah. It's shockingly like Street Fighter, isn't it?
It's just a rip-off, basically.
Yeah.
Worse version.
But again, I enjoyed watching that because it's such a rip-off. You just look at the menus and the characters.
Yeah. All the movesets. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. We were pulling neither me or Ollie had ever played that game before, and we were pulling off moves because I wonder if the same button combination for Ryan and Ken's move work on this character. Oh, they do. We were pulling off moves having never played the game before. It's clearly just Street Fighter.
See, that to me is something that Evercade need to get more co-op fighting games like Street Fighter. They need Fighter's History, Clay Fighter, and then but they need some arcade versions of fighting games.
Yeah,
and they also need some more console versions as well.
Definitely. Now they've got the VS, I think fighting games would be used quite a lot. quite like small fights. Do you know what I really want to see again is that do you ever play Eternal Champions?
Yes.
So hard.
Love
So
that.
hard.
That was
Very
cool
hard.
for its time. Yes.
Yeah,
Good
it was
shout.
really, really hard. But I remember I rented that once. Me and my brother played it loads. We played against each other because like the computer was so difficult. Because I can't quite remember, but I think if you get so far, when you lose a round against the computer, rather than just fighting them again, you go back. Like it sends you back to the previous fight, and it's just really unforgiving. So you could be playing for hours and hours, and then next thing you know, you're back to like the first fight again because you keep losing. So it's a really difficult game, but it had a lot of fun little fatalities as well, didn't it? Like if you
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I figured that.
yeah, I don't know how you did it, but it wasn't related to the character, but the seating, like the stage you're in. I think if you did something, then something would happen in the background that would like kill the character off. So yeah, that was a fun little game.
It's Sega though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's definitely a
Yep.
Sega game, so it probably will never happen.
No.
I don't know. Like Sega are one of those companies where you just kind of like throw money at them and they'll just sort of let you do whatever with their character. It seems to be, you know.
Yeah.
And you go back to like the old school days, and someone tell you that Super Mario and Sonic are going to be in a game together, like. You'd have never believed that. Now you got Mario and Sonic at the Olympics is basically a staple title. So anything's possible, kids. It's
that soundtrack of that game as well. The music from Eternal Champions is really good as well. That intro music they had.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna have to go down like a YouTube rabbit hole of Eternal Champions tonight because it's been a long time since I've thought about that game.
There was like that guy like with a trident, like a merman type guy. I can't remember his name, but remember that's.
There was a policeman as well, wasn't there? Or like a spy. He had like a Columbo jacket on.
That was Larkin. I know you had a guy because it was all meant to be like different points in history, wasn't it? So I think like the story was that they'd all been taken out of different time periods. Because you had a caveman, then you had like a guy from the future. They had like a cybernetic kickboxer, and then you had like a witch and a acrobat. I'm trying to remember who the other characters were, but yeah, I remember the Tribe Man was from like the city of Atlantis, wasn't he?
Yes,
yeah. But yeah, he had like the fork hands, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's like a wizard guy who had like the staff. He'd like lift the staff up and send a orb across, and he could turn people into gold. It's a bit like Sub-Zero's freeze. He would like do this thing and they turn to gold, and then you could like beat them up while they were a statue. I'm actually going to look up what that name is.
I'm gonna just while we're on the topic of fighting games, man. I'm just gonna chuck another one out there just while we're talking about fighting games. It'd probably have to be the arcade port because this is another game I remember playing in the arcade, and then being bitterly a bit disappointed when the home console port came out. Primal Rage. I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could enjoy it at home because remember it was like on the huge like screens and there was like the big picture and sound like that game was meant for the arcade. I don't think you could do a home port of that. Like you couldn't do that justice at all.
It was so enjoyable, and then I do remember it was like that, and I remember Rise of the Robots being okay in the arcade as well. And again, the home port of that just being like, what the fuck is this? Like,
I remember great.
Obviously, without swearing quite so much as a kid, but it was just awful, just awful. And
so the guy was actually called Trident. So that was his name. His name was Trident.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. I remember that.
That was it. It's thinking how it's got what it was. Sorry, I'll shut up this game in a minute. I forgot what it is. All these characters had died like too soon, like they had like all untimely deaths. And if they won this tournament and beat the Eternal Champion, they would get to go back to the point in which they died in time and avoid being killed and get to relive their life. That was the premise of the game. So all the characters in their bios had like what killed them. So you'd find out what killed them.
I'm really going to
lovely cheery game.
You've got an example. An example.
Yeah, what happened to Trident?
What diff?
Oh, what happened? An artificial being created by the Atlanteans from 110 BC. He was killed by a rival before he could compete in the final match of a gladiator tournament. As a consequence, the Roman Empire banished his race to the sea, where they were eventually wiped out.
Oh,
wow!
Lovely,
yeah, nice.
Lovely.
Cheer me up, yeah.
Okay, let's move on to.
Come back to me later, and we'll just
come back. We'll have some more. We'll have some more later.
Tim's death updates.
Okay, so Ed, your YouTube channel. I'm going to throw it up on the screen. Do you want to just tell people who may not be aware of your YouTube channel what they can find on there, and you know, what kind of content you put out.
Yes, yeah, I'll talk about that. So yeah, my primary channel, it's mainly focused on the Evercade, and pretty much if you go to it, it's /Retro KillDashNine, but I call it the Evercade effect, and so I talk about everything Evercade related, but so it kind of depends, right? So sometimes if there's a particular game that I like, I think I did this with Xenocrisis. I did like a Get Good. I'll do reviews. Did a lot of speculation video, a lot of speculation games, for a while because there wasn't any other new content. So that's always fun. Give my thoughts and opinions on the VS. My most recent video that I did was, hey, now that I've spent some time with the VS Founders Edition, how do I like it? So yeah, everything Evercade related. Sometimes I'll go off on a little bit different tangents. Like there was one where I talked about like the Atari Activision collection, and I kind of went in and talked about like how I had some GameCube games lying around, and traded those in to get like a Game Boy Advance and stuff like that. And yeah, it's really it's my creative outlet. I say that YouTube it's my therapy. Like the weird little intros that I do in the beginning. Sometimes that's like the most fun, like the most fun part. And actually, when I did all my combined weird intros in a 5-minute video, nobody unsubscribed, so that made me happy.
Excellent. And you do put a lot of energy into your videos. I certainly enjoy watching the content.
Thank you.
It's very good. So what have you got planned for the next few weeks in terms of content?
Sure. So I tease about this a little bit. So my next video will be like, my top 10 games. Actually, it was by one of somebody in the comment section said, hey, I want to hear your top 10. But for me though, like to do a top 10 games of 300 games is just, that's mentally insane. So I had to set some parameters. So I said, I'm going to pick one game per cart. Because I'm like, wouldn't really be as fun picking like half the games from the Intellivision collection. And so that's kind of what I did. Of the 6 new carts, I did that. And then I went back to the other 4 ones. So then after that, though, it's probably going to be, I may go back into collections like I did the Intellivision collections. I do want to talk more about arcade, definitely like the different arcade collections. Like I might have to review like the Galco collection, because that's such a bizarre collection there. And then of course when we get to the other 2 new collections that come out and more hidden game, if there's more hidden games and anything else like that, kind of what I feel like in the moment. Of course, if they they announce something else and they give thoughts and opinions, I'll kind of throw out a video on that. But yeah, that's what people can kind of just expect, just my weird, wacky, crazy self. And as you can see by my videos, I like to talk about things that I kind of just get get hyped up about. Actually, fun fact I'll throw in there real quick. I had somebody message me on Discord, and this is kind of early on. They said, is that really you? And they said, if it's not, you should take it up a few notches. So I'm like, okay. And it's kind of funny because I read that to my wife, and she's like, God, take that up a few notches. She's like, no, that's really, she's like, no, that's really him. And so that's like, for like a good example of this that I talk about, like in the beginning of my videos, like when I say I'm Retro KillDashNine, like,
yes, there it is.
So yeah, that just came out one day, right? Like I wasn't planning on that. And then Ian Hobbies, like he, attributed to him, like he commented like KillDashNine. So he started to keep that alive, and the fact that it annoyed like Classy Gaming Pete, like he said, and I'm annoyed by that. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And so that just kind of stuck. So sometimes in my videos, when I just do that inflection, like I don't mean to. So when I'm on YouTube, it's just it's kind of like the most kind of like positive, relaxed version of myself, right? Like I just don't hold back. I feel totally comfortable. And as I've done more YouTube videos, I just get more, I get more comfortable on. And then I guess while we're talking about channels, me and Rich started, calling all retro gamers. That's a secondary channel because, well, I do love like talking about, Evercade and its specialty. Like he likes talking about Master System, other specialty things. Well, me and him, we like just to talk about retro in general. And so if you want to go ahead and have a show like that, you need to find the right partner that you can feed off of, right? Because you don't want someone that agrees with you 100%. You don't want someone who's argumentative, but you want someone who you can just kind of, have good vibes with. And so, yeah, we were really excited just to kind of throw together a live show and do that. So we've got all our retro bases, covered.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's the new show definitely with it's Rich, isn't it?
Yeah, making
yeah,
extra
yeah.
productions.
Sorry,
Yeah.
speak to
Yeah.
too many people. I can't remember everyone's name. Retro Rich Bacon Ice Cream Production, who we had on Everchat I think it was last week, Thursday. The chemistry that you two have is very good, and you bounce off each other really well when you're talking about retro games. So
Oh, thank you.
definitely do check that out. Ed's channel link is in the description of this video, so click on that, go and subscribe. It's really good content on there, a lot of
Thank you.
energy. So yeah, definitely do check that out. Okay, we have got a question from Crazy Burger, but he's here late, and you've actually answered one of the questions already. So what's your favorite? You've covered the favorite car. So favorite game on Evercade, and which game surprised you?
So I know I kind of talked about a little bit, but you say surprise, kind of go back to Xenocrisis, because I'd played that before, on emulation, and that was kind of one of those carts where I was holding off getting it because there was only 2 games, and then I kind of held off too long and it became scarce, right? Like you couldn't find it anywhere at all, and so then I kind of regretted that. And then it was kind of the same time when I kind of got back into getting the Game Boy Advance and all that, and I was like, you know what? Well, I do like having multiple games. You could just have one really good game on the cart and that be it. So it just, for me, especially with like the tightness of the Evercade controls and everything, it really surprised me that it was that good. I was just kind of shocked by that. So it'll be interesting once I do beat it on hard. Like, will I take a break from that for a while? Probably, and then I'll go back to it. But yeah, it just surprised me that, hey, you don't have to have like Tanglewood. I haven't really played, to be honest.
No, Tanglewood's one of those. I started playing it, but I just struggled to get into it. I think Nintendo is probably a type of game that you would be into. I think you enjoy your platform games, but I just couldn't get on with it.
It's not one that I have put a lot of time into. I normally, with most of the cartridges, when I get them, I will play a little bit of each one, just especially the games that I've never heard of, just to kind of see what it is and get a feel for it, and then normally just devote a lot of time to the main sort of. Normally it is 1 or 2 on the cartridge that I've kind of gone for. So I have played a little bit of Tanglewood just to kind of see what it's about, and it is really like, I guess the best way to describe it is it's really cute. Like it's a really nice game. The soundtrack's kind of nice. It is something I think I am going to really enjoy. I think you're right. It comes across as a really well put together platformer. I am looking forward to actually putting.
He's gone.
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
Ollie,
the Millennium
Ollie's on mute.
Finally.
Am I back? Am I
You're
back?
Yeah, you're
I'm
back.
back. Yeah, shocking. It's what you have when you have everyone in your house is all just like devoted to doing stuff on the internet. Yeah, no idea where I went or how far I got into that. It's cute. I'm going to play it on the VS. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we got to. Awesome. Tim, have you played Tanglewood?
Yeah, I have actually. I haven't thought about playing on the VS. I've been playing on the handheld. Can't remember how. I think I got a few levels in and just haven't really got any further with it. I'll go back to it. I quite like that you do the thing where you change color, and then like when you're that color for a set amount of time, and you can like either jump slightly higher or glide, or they'll give you like a different ability to get through to the next bit. So yeah, it's quite a fun little platformer. Give it a bit of a longer go, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so this is a new segment that was created by a good friend of the show, Rick Waller, who was a guest last year, and he came up with an idea called Waller's Remasters. So I know I gave you a bit of a heads up, Ed, about what this is in advance. So Dorbs, are you going to explain what is a Waller's Remasters?
It's basically Wallace. It's basically three retro games that you think need and deserve a modern touch of a 2022 release. So and 3 games from the 80s or 90s, and your reasons behind why you want that game as a remaster.
You also said that we were going to do, after each guest we were going to decide. Explain that as well, because that's
Yeah.
quite a cool idea.
We thought of a new competition. So at the end of each month, once everyone has told us their Waller's remasters, we're going to put a vote up, sort of similar to the goal of the month. Not that you probably know what that is, but it's basically football or soccer have a goal of the month competition, and the winner goes forward to the goal of the season. So what we're going to do is Waller's remaster of the month, and then every month the winner will go forward to the Waller's remaster of the
final
year of the year. Well, I was going to say season then, but Waller's remasters of the year. So yeah, so you got 3 games that you think deserve a 2022 remaster release.
Gotcha. And so you're talking about like updated graphics and everything.
Yeah. Sort of like like Resident Evil 2 remaster. They did that. Not the garbage Final Fantasy 7 one, of course, but Resident Evil 2. you know, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, for example.
Final Fantasy 7. So, for goodness sake, he just.
So what will be your 3 picks?
We're coming
so
back to
one thing that I think would be good. So to get a remaster, and so my first pick to get a remaster, I guess would be Adventure, and the reason I fell in love with it because back then you're just a square, it's one of your most very basic like games. But if you would want to get like kids today or people to play, I understand why somebody could look at that and just kind of go meh to not get into it. But imagine though, instead of being like a square, if like you actually were you actually had like a full-fledged character, and then like the walls, if you actually had like the real walls, and then the dragons could actually be like real dragons. I could understand like giving that game a facelift, but for me though, for a remaster, I don't want things to become like 3D, because I think when you have a game become 3D, then in my opinion, if it started off as a 2D game and you make it too much of a 3D game, then it loses its nostalgia, and you're just kind of using the name of it. You're just like taking the name and slapping it on, and I don't want that. I think if you just kind of brought it, like if you took it like Adventure and you brought it like into the 16-bit era, like that would be 60 like that would be fine. Like I think that would be appealing, like pixel art. I mean, I love pixel art, and then so I think that would be a really great one. And then a second one I don't know if Rich is still on, but another remaster I'd have to go with is Sequest. I don't think that one has gotten a proper remaster, because that's that's just one of those games, like anything like Pac-Man, like it looks deceptively like easy, right? But you have to manage your air. You have to collect all the mermaids and also there's a lot more going on. But I can understand that like a modern audience would look at that and be like, again, like, ew, those graphics look outdated. But if you could bring up like a 16-bit version of that, then that would be the other thing too that's interesting about that game is that but it's kind of like Aqua Adventure in the Evercade, because of like the water, like the blue back. It can be a little bit difficult to see, like especially because the mermaids are also kind of the same color. So because of the color scheme, it'd be nice to bring it to a little bit more modern of a color, just so you can see things. So you could see things better. Like that would pop.
Okay.
That would be my second pick, and then my third pick, I kind of brought it up earlier. Just one of my favorite games would be is Dragonfire. That I think what Imagine owns that now. I think it's one of those games that have kind of been lost to time. It's kind of like if you know about it, it's a great game. But I think I could just see like in the beginning, like a 16-bit pixel art, like the castle in the beginning, having like the real fireballs going through, and then when you get into the treasure room, the kind of cool, and you could also have more of a variety, because if I remember in that game, like the dragons are just different colors, so you could kind of reward the players, like each level make the dragons would like different enough. But I think if it was done right, you could capture it in the feel. And then also too, since since these are Atari games, they didn't have any music, so maybe you could add like some kind of cool background music that would just kind of capture the feel to go to it to make it more entertaining. But I had to think on that, because I'm like, because for me the remasters and remakes are tricky, because I think they need to capture the essence of the retro game. Like I don't like something if they take it and they go all like 3D, and it's like it needs to resemble the art style. So yeah, those would be my current my current 3 picks for.
Excellent.
Awesome.
So Adventure, Sequest, and Dragon's Fire.
Yeah.
First 3 entries,
Nice.
yeah. Very good. Excellent.
I definitely know what you mean about modernising game, but still keeping it in that retro style. Like I think 2 games I really enjoyed recently that came out was where they did the Sonic. What do they call it? The
Mania.
Sonic
Mania.
that one, yeah. So
Yeah,
Sonic
it's
Mania,
awesome, so
and then Streets of Rage 4. I thought were both really good. But the putting things in 3D just for the sake of it was a real sin of the PlayStation 1, I think. The PlayStation 1 had loads of games just like,
N64.
let's just make it 3D because we can. Yeah, and
N64.
N64 did it as well. And you'd have like Rayman's a really good like side-scrolling platform where they've redone Rayman now as a side-scrolling platform. They had like a 3D Rayman, and there's like a 3D Earthworm Jim or a 3D Kirby and things like that. It's like, no, those games are like 2D platforms. You can have really nice updated 2D platform games on modern consoles. And for some reason, in the N64 PlayStation 1 era, developers seemed to think that people didn't want, 2D graphics on that system.
Yeah, it was strange, wasn't it?
Because 3D, didn't they, all the time?
Was there? I never had an N64. Was there any 2D sort of Nintendo licensed games on the N64?
Yes, sort of. I mean, 2D.
Paper Mario.
You could say it was like 2D, 3D, but that sort of like different level thing. But Yoshi's Story. In fact, Yoshi's Story was a platformer. Yoshi's Story was a platformer.
Yoshi's Story was like that, yeah.
And
and Paper Mario.
It's got Paper Mario as well. Yeah, I think a lot of people remember Yoshi's Story being terrible, whereas in fact it is a very good platformer. I like it. I liked it as a platformer. It was very child friendly, but there's nothing wrong with that. And all the other Yoshi's sort of story type games have been really good. Yoshi's Crafted World on the Switch is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, there was definitely a couple, but I think it was in that really weird transitional period, wasn't it, where you looked at things on the PlayStation and everything was all 3D and it was great and it looked fantastic, and you had Mario 64. Sonic. No, it wasn't Sonic Adventure. There was no sort of real big staple game on the Saturn, was there really? Sonic hadn't quite sort of transitioned to 3D at that point, but it was a weird time. Yeah, I think you're right. Everybody just kind of, I think lots of companies just thought, right, it's got to be 3D. I think it was Tim. Did you mention Earthworm Jim 3D? I mean, good grief, that game is terrible.
Probably worth £1,000 though. You say it's terrible.
Yeah, boxed.
A boxed copy of it sells for about 50 quid. So it's about what you would have paid for it back in the day. It's not great. It is not great. What was the other one you mentioned? Like a 3D they converted to? Is Earthworm Jim and something else?
Rayman.
Rayman, yes.
3D ones,
Rayman was okay. Like Rayman sort of works as a 3D platformer, but yeah, Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends, the redo, or not the redos, but the newer Rayman games they were great because it just went straight back to 2D side scrolling where it works. Yeah, some games they do, but then you tend to find a lot of games kind of come back to that as well, don't they? When you had and the one that did it, the one that I think kicked it all off properly was Street Fighter 4. When everything had gone 3D fighting games, it was Street Fighter went 3D, everything was 3D, even Mortal Kombat went 3D, and that was, had varying results. But then as soon as Street Fighter 4 came back out and it was 2D, 3D games, just like back as it was, and it was just incredible. And all of a sudden then Mortal Kombat went back to it and everything just went back to being 2D again. And it was very bizarre.
I'd really like to see Street Fighter go back to being 2D. Because I don't really like the newer, like the Street Fighter 5 graphics, where it's like it's obviously still 2D fight, but the characters are drawn to 3D. If you look at like the Dragon Ball Fighter Z game, like the graphics on that just look amazing. They really graphically, that is a stunning game. It's really good. I'd just love to see them do Street Fighter in that style, just have like that anime 2D Street Fighter. I personally think that looks a lot better than like the 3D models myself.
Yeah, my favorite era of Street. See, we're deviating again. My favorite sort of era of Street Fighter is the Street Fighter 3 area, where you got Double Impact and Third Strike. Those are my favorite Street Fighter games because they sort of changed it up enough where it was a little bit more interesting. But for me, that is my favorite graphical style for a 2D fighter game. In fact, fighting game in general, it's that. Quick, Ryan, bring us back on course.
No, that's fine. I like listening to it. I like listening to it. All very interesting. Okay, so I threw in a topic, very short notice today. So what retro game / goodies did you get this Christmas? thought maybe we might be able to share. Unfortunately, I didn't get any retro books or games or anything like that.
You
Which I
got
you sure?
wanted to.
well.
Are you sure you got a book? I know you got a book.
Yeah, we know you
could
got a
show
book.
off that book, mate.
Well, check out our Secret Santa video if you. I think it's day 13 of the 12 days of Christmas. If you want to see what book that I got. Anyway, Nintendo Ollie, I'm going to move to you because you're
Okay.
this side of me.
So I'm sort of at that point in my life where I don't necessarily get like fun Christmas presents anymore. Like me and my wife, we haven't bought stuff for each other for a long time. We plow it all into the kids and make Christmas very special for them. We'll try our very best to. But
secret
as a I'm not going into my Secret Santa. Actually, I'll tell you what. One of my Secret Santa gifts is right over here. So this was one of the things I got. A very, very generous person got me this absolutely incredible game, and it is going to be Pride and Joy.
Let me put you on solo layout.
Look at that.
Amazing.
You're pixelated a little
what's
bit.
What's in your future, then, Ollie? What's in your future? What does it say?
I have yet to go with it, but
you should do monthly updates. What it says should happen and what actually happens.
Okay, we'll do that. I shall start doing that. But because we got paid, and I'm going to count this as a very late Christmas present to myself, so I managed to pick up a VS. So there we go. That is my retro related late Christmas present to myself.
Oh, very nice. And we really want to hear about Russell Grant's astrology. Ed's probably there thinking, who the hell is Russell Grant?
Yeah, you'll have to Google him.
He's probably the most famous person in England.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
No, he's not. He's really not.
He's not really.
Sorry, I don't know.
He was someone in the 90s, maybe late 80s as well, possibly. I'm not sure, but he was on all these like daytime TV shows, and a lot of British TV shows back then would always have an astrologer come on, and it was sort of like read your stars and tell everybody's future. And it was this thing. We had Russell Grant, we had Mystic Meg, we had all these like just absolute crackpots making huge amounts of money out of all of this stuff. And there we go. We didn't realize that one of them actually made a licensed Nintendo DS game. So there we go.
Hold it up again because your camera is back now. Hold it up again. I'm going to put you on solo screen.
Russel Grant's astrology.
That's amazing.
Look at that.
Fantastic. Probably worth about £1,000.
50p in checks.
It was sealed.
It's complete.
Okay. Oh, box complete. Lovely. Okay, Tim, triangle face.
Yeah, so I got a couple of Evercade cartridges, which is good. So I got Worms and Atari 2, and then I got Mega Cat 2.
Oh, you talking about the game?
Well. Yeah, Worms the game. Didn't have Worms
Yeah.
for Christmas.
Get some cream for that.
Worms. I got the Worms cartridge and Atari 2, and then I got the Mega Cats 2 as well, which is pretty good. Not really had a chance to play much of that, but Mega Cats 2 looks pretty cool. So I probably played quite a bit of that. And I got a book, Micro Brits, which is a book about game development studios and their sort of origins and what they did and stuff they worked on. I've read a few chapters of that already, and that's really good, actually. That's a really interesting read. So I read up on, was it Image had a bit of a very short run. It looks like they sort of burnt very bright and fast and spent all their money and then disappeared. But they had a huge amount of success very quickly and then came into loads of money and then spent loads of money. But they made a few sort of bold strokes which changed how like advertising was done in games and things like that. And then Ocean Software was an interesting one as well, because I was reading their tactic was they would buy up licenses for stuff that wasn't yet popular. So if there was like rumors of movies that were going to be made, they would buy the license before the movie came out when it was cheaper. And then if the movie was successful, they would like bring out a game of it and they'd buy up all these licenses. And it looks like they had the license to make a sports game based on Daley Thompson. So they had Daley Thompson's Decathlon, Daley Thompson Olympic Challenge, like all these Daley Thompson games. And then he won big at the Olympics and won loads of medals. So all of a sudden the rights to his name soared up in value, but they'd already bought them when they weren't expensive.
So did they buy, do you remember him, Eric Zail? Does anyone remember him?
Eric the Eel.
Eric Deal, yeah,
Eric
the
the
swimmer.
The swimmer who was like really
Swimmer.
quick and then got knackered and just absolutely dreadful.
No.
He's
Yeah,
never
like
swam
bits-
before.
I'll keep going through. I might hopefully have some interesting tidbits throughout the year of
Yeah, I'm
things I
hoping
read.
they did.
Okay. Maybe
Eric's
we
Eel.
could have a segment where I read bits from the book that I got as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See.
Do we
No, that-
really
that-
want to give that
that was,
publicity?
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Or just
So yeah,
find
if you're
it in
looking
another book.
for a good book, I would recommend. It's called Micro Brits: A Tapestry of the British Gaming Industry. Yeah, it's got some really good, interesting stuff in there about different game studios.
Okay, excellent. Okay, and Blunners?
Well, you can see got a whole new setup. But
Have you?
retro.
Didn't
Yeah,
notice.
no, you can actually see me. Yeah, not all pixelated. But no, I've got the Legend of Zelda, the little handheld, the Game and Watch. Comes with this like really random like little like cloth map thing, like picture thing that Nintendo store were doing. And I was just saying like off air, I've slowly, literally just making my way to the final boss and like dungeon, and how hard it is because how like the size of the D-pad is literally the size of my thumb, so it's like trying to dodge everything that's coming flying at you, and you're trying to move around. But the screen on it is just excellent, and battery life is really good, and it's got like loads of little like Zelda tweaks to it. But yeah, I love it. And also, I've done a couple of videos that people have seen. Was it with Game Genies? I've got Game Genie for the NES, and I also got Game Genie for the Game Boy.
Does it have your little manual in the back with all the cheats in it? Love it. Look at this. Look at this. This is look at that.
Oh,
Yeah, hang on. It is like it's fallen to bits. If I can see.
How are you supposed to read that?
So you open it up.
So good.
It's like a phone.
And
It's
you-
like you're Landed of Giants with a phone book.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
it's basically
Just
like
hold
a phone book.
hold that and a bottle of
Mental.
miniature
So
whiskey or
you-
something and feel like a giant.
Yeah, so you go in here. I was up, and your games go the other way. So they go. So that goes
What?
into your Game Boy like that. So it's facing away. So that's how it would look. But I was also asked. Does it work on? I was asked, does it work on any other Game Boys? And I tried it on the Game Boy Pocket, and it worked. And I tried it on the Game Boy Color, and it didn't work. So Game Boy Color doesn't work. But yeah, it's 1992. I looked at when it came out. But,
Wow.
yeah, mad. I just never had one on there. But also, there's one on the Game Gear, there's one on the SNES, and there's one on the Mega Drive. So I will make my way through. I will get them all. So I want to have them all now. Got
Yeah,
two.
they're
out of
great.
5.
That is real nostalgia. That is, isn't it?
Yeah,
that is.
amazing.
Yeah. Cool little
Ollie
booklet
was-
on the back. Yeah.
I thought Blunners was pulling out his little book of girls' telephone numbers from when he was younger.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah. Honest.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for sharing. And Ed, I'm putting you on the spot a bit here, but did you get any retro goodies this Christmas?
Yes, well, so the Evercade VS Founders Edition that was an early one. But if you haven't noticed for this episode, this PlayStation mug, my daughter actually
Nice.
Ah, yes,
Oh.
mate.
actually got that for me on the back, and
Beautiful.
Controller
Oh,
for the
cool.
hand.
and it's the controller, and it's officially licensed too. There's like a stick, so I was
That's quality.
I was impressed. I mean, I love mugs, and that's why when Andrew from Blaze showed off that mug, I'm like, I want that. Like we need an Evercade mug. But yeah,
Excellent.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
also have some mugs.
Yeah.
Hey, Blunder's got
And-
these made for us for Christmas.
Yeah, so actually I got this for Christmas.
that's
This
awesome. Personalized.
and
That's so
then-
cool.
yeah.
I don't have one on me at the moment. I've got this one. But this was
Oh.
also.
Oh, I ain't got
Yeah.
mine.
It's
So
always
that was
one.
a- that was a
mine's in
Christmas
the washing
present.
machine. Covered this earlier.
Okay, so if you the link to our Facebook group is in the description of this video. Come join us because there's a chance that you can win an exclusive. Well, it's going to be exclusive to start with. Blunners is going to reveal more, but there is a chance to win a Retro Gamer Revival mug. So
Is there going to be a minimum entry that we need, like 20 entries?
no, there's going to be nothing like that. It's
Okay,
going to
that's
be
good.
there's
That's
going to be
good.
Not
no
this group.
complicated entry method. Where you've got to tag 10 friends and
Oh,
share the
I
group.
hate those
It's going to be
comps.
it's going to be nothing like that. It's going to
Yeah.
be really nice, straightforward. like we always
He
like to do
wants the
things.
money.
Excellent, because I hate those
Chuck
competitions.
your hat,
They do
name in
my
the
head in.
hat.
Okay, yep. We might even do the old-fashioned, get the old tombola thing.
Tombola.
Going. That's good. I've got a good effect for that. Anyway, right, Dorbs, shoot. What you get?
I got the James Bond version of the ZX Spectrum 2, which was amazing. Yeah, really. It was the one we saw when we went to the arcade. You know, we went to that shop beforehand.
Yeah,
it's that pack. Yeah, I got that, which is absolutely amazing. It's got all the stuff with it as well, which is really, really good.
Amazing.
So yeah, got that. Also got Final Fantasy game from Ollie B, which I have installed. I haven't played it yet, but I have
It's
installed
all right,
it.
mate. The fact that you've installed it means the world
Yeah.
to me.
I'm probably gonna delete it when I run out of space.
He doesn't watch cutscenes, so.
Yeah, I didn't skip all those. He's got time to watch that.
Nah.
And not retro related, but I got Cyberpunk, which I am really, really enjoying. But I've made my character a bloke, but somehow I've given him a female voice. So every time I go and see someone, they call me a girl, which is a bit weird. But yeah, I'm really enjoying Cyberpunk. Really, really good.
I'm glad you're enjoying it, mate, because that game just gets a real pasting because of, you know, and I appreciate it. There were issues, there are bugs, there's all these kind of things. Some of my friends who are playing it on base unit PS4 have no problems. Some people playing it on base unit PS4 have had all the problems. I picked it up 6 months after it came out, played it on PS5, and just loved it.
Yeah,
Absolutely loved it.
It took a long time to install and to do the updates. So I just put it in safe mode and just did all that. Took absolutely ages, but yeah, really like it. It does crash every so often.
Yep.
But it's so quick to load anyway. It's literally like 30 seconds loading, so it's not ideal, but it's not a massive problem for me. But yeah, loving it. Really, really loving it.
Do you know what I find now? Whenever I play an RPG that's got like an open world thing, like if I play like Skyrim or Oblivion, I always try and like make a character and then try and do what I think that character would do, and try and like, you know, stay good or be bad or like follow the missions. I was playing games like Skyrim like that, and I was missing out on missions that gave me loads of experience. Because like, but my character's just done this thing that saved all the children in the orphanage. And now I'm going to do something where they want to like burn down the village. So they contradict. And I found the best character to base my adventure on is actually Forrest Gump. So literally every game I go into, it's like my character is Forrest Gump.
Box of chocolate.
He's told. It's like,
runs away.
Would you like to go and destroy this church? Yeah, okay. And he just goes off. So he's basically the Forrest Gump of Skyrim. Goes round, does whatever he's told. Because Forrest Gump, everyone suggests he does something. He then just goes and does it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The reason he joins the army. Goes, you ever think about joining the army? It's like, okay. So he literally just does whatever anyone suggests. So that's now my go-to character model for an RPG.
So lovely.
Play it like Forrest Gump.
Someone in the modding community needs to put Forrest Gump in Skyrim now, please.
Forrest Gump in Skyrim would
someone
work,
do that.
Done.
Someone put him in. I need to see this in my life.
So Forrest Gump, I've got a theory about Forrest Gump. Classic film, a bit of a dark theory. I think that kid is not his kid. Jenny, who was very ill and dying, she just gave him to Forrest because Forrest is a lovely bloke. But it's not really his kid. But she told him it is.
Wow,
that's my theory.
Believes that.
I've seen things of that as well, saying like, "Oh, is that actually not?"
Ollie agrees with me because he's so shocked he's not moving. So Ollie, if you agree, don't move.
Ollie,
yep, he's not moving.
Whilst he's frozen, whilst he's frozen again, I did get
broke
one
the
game
internet,
for
Dorbs.
Christmas. I did get one game. I got Deathloop on PlayStation 5, which is actually really, really cool. But I've only probably put in a couple of hours so far. But I am enjoying it. I'm not really a big fan of a first-person shooter. Usually, I like to see the little person on the screen. However, I'm willing to give it a go, and yeah, it's good. It's good so far, so good. And it uses the PS5 controller and everything. And I think I've only had 1 or 2 PS5 games since launch, so I'm definitely glad to get another one.
Yeah,
I've got,
everything on PS5 now.
Guardians of the Galaxy on it. I was saying that Guardians of the Galaxy picked up Black Friday, so I think it was 30 quid.
Nice.
Didn't get it till Christmas, but yeah, it was so good. I really enjoy it.
Speaking of, like, I guess while we're talking about modern games quickly, I picked up Back 4 Blood, hoping it would be like Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead,
it kind of is, and it's kind of not. and you can see that
no.
Valve really held up Left 4 Dead. And them not being involved in this Back 4 Blood, it looks great, it plays great, but it's like it just hinders you for doing something really minor that just sort of ruins your mission, and then it's done in like runs, and there's only one continue, and you're like, nah, this ain't fun. I just want to shoot zombies. I'm gonna park.
Play like Forrest Gump.
Just play.
Exactly. Play like Forrest Gump.
Like, let's start running, and he's just gone.
Yeah.
Like, a game that I have been addicted to, and I finished it now, but I managed to get the platinum on it, was Bugsnax. That was
I want to play that.
wonderful. It was so cool. It's sort of a weird like Pokemon-esque thing where you have to try and catch all these different Bugsnax and stuff. And it's got really like it's very child friendly, I guess, in terms of the way it looks and the dialogue in it and stuff, but it takes a real dark turn at the end. Like, Jesus, all of a sudden the end sort of like is revealed as to what these Bugsnax are, and it was just like, I'm not gonna say it, but wow, that took a dark turn. Yeah.
Awesome. Are
Nice.
we doing what's in the box? Are we doing it?
Yeah, come on. Got you.
Yeah, I suppose we've got time.
As it's 2022, right? I'm going to play the intro, and then Ed, I don't know if you've seen what's in the box before, but Dorbs will explain it all to you very shortly.
What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?
Right. So,
shoot.
I've got this very expensive box. You can probably recognise who it's based on. So there it is. There. So inside
a homage.
Yeah, it's there. So inside this box, I've got a retro gaming item. So it could be a game, console, peripheral, magazine, comic, even maybe.
Good lad.
So yeah, basically, the panel got 20 questions. Take it in turns. Got 20 questions. Ollie's been turned to the duck,
I
which
am
is good.
always the duck.
So you got 20 questions, and I can only answer yes or no. So shoot.
Okay.
Who's first?
Do we start with Ollie at the top and just work our way down?
Yeah.
Well,
no,
I mean,
no Google, no Googling, because I know you guys cheat.
Googling. Check.
Yeah, Ed, they started cheating.
Never established you weren't allowed to Google, so I don't really.
Just before we start, and based on what Dorbs has done previously, do we want to take a stab at a game like Wild 9 because it's got the number 9 and that, and Dorbs has been known to base these games on the guest.
Yeah, go for it then. Do you want to take the first guess there, Ryan?
No.
You yours up, Ollie.
No, I'm going to go in with the standard question. It has to be established straight away. In fact, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Is it a cartridge-based game?
Ooh.
No. I had to think then.
I'm presuming it is a game, though.
It's not your turn. Is that another question?
No, of course
Another
not.
question.
I do think we need to start off with a wider net and narrow it down. So I'll say, is it a game?
Yes.
Is it a CD/DVD game?
Or do you mean, is that a CD, DVD, or Blu-ray game?
Well, any, like
on a disc.
No.
On a disc.
No.
Not on a disc.
Go on, Ed.
Is this game released after 2005?
Not the one I have, no.
Okay.
Ooh.
There's not
So,
Trying to get that era.
Possibly.
Yeah, of course. It could have been remade then.
Yeah, but I'm thinking something to do with this ZX Spectrum he's got for Christmas that he's let out of the bag. Is it a cassette game?
Yes.
Ooh.
Right.
God.
So now this is a question to the panel, not to Dorbs, because my experience of the ZX Spectrum is very minimal. Did the Spectrum take cassettes?
Yes, I'm sure it did. I'm sure the one he got is like a keyboard with the cassette thing.
Yeah, it does take cassettes. Yeah.
Brilliant. Is it a ZX Spectrum game?
No.
shit.
After all that,
I'm
It's got to be
stressed.
Commodore 64, isn't it?
Oh, Commodore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go for that. Is it a Commodore 64 game?
Yes.
Oh, big box.
Is it a sports game?
Ooh, no.
Considering you said Paperboy was a sports game.
No, I
So,
didn't.
No,
I
he
said
said Paper was a shooter.
he said
I
Paperboy
said
was a
it-
shooter.
I was
Shooter.
asked if it was a shooter, and I
Shooter.
said he does shoot
It's a rail
something.
shooter.
I said he does shoot some things.
okay, Ed. Back to
Is
you.
it a homebrew game?
I don't think so. I'm going to say no, but I don't
Okay,
think it
yeah.
is.
Sport. Got that little gut. Oh no, that's a ZX.
Hang on, I can hear clicking. Who's on Google? Right, I can hear some clicking. I might have to retire this if there's continuing cheating going on.
I think I know what it is.
Yeah, go for it then.
Is it a movie-based game?
No.
Oh, I don't know what it is.
I think
I thought it was
know what it is.
James
So it's
Bond on
not-
a Commodore 64 because obviously he's teased us with that Spectrum thing, hasn't he?
But it's not a sports game and it's not a movie-based tie-in game,
And it's on a cassette.
and it's on the Commodore. So we need to
What's that
narrow
called?
down the genre.
Well, you're 50% through, so I can see you looking at Google as quick as you can.
Because I don't really know the ZX Spectrum or the Commodore 64 much at all. And I'm not allowed to Google, so I'm kind of a bit dead in the water now. Because I'm just not going to know it.
Why don't you ask if it's on an Evercade cartridge?
He's
Is
going to
it
say
on a-
no.
Is it on an Evercade cartridge?
No.
See, talking to we're not allowed to Google, but you're allowed to feed us questions.
love it.
He can
Completely
lead us in with a question.
Line
That should be cheating.
reeled you in there, big time, Ryan.
That's funny.
Hey, so that is just as bad as when you said, "Oh, is there a sequel to Cars?" This is awkward.
Yeah, come on, yeah.
That's
Crazy
funny.
Burger's
Right,
burning.
we got to narrow down. Is it a
Come on.
platformer?
No.
Okay, is it a shooting game?
He shoots things.
You do shoot something, yes.
You shoot.
shoot-
It's a
You
shooter.
shoot something.
So is it a shooter or they just shoot something?
It's classed as a shooter.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Is it?
is that another question?
No, I was getting you to
No,
redefine your
we're
answer.
defining the previous
Clarify.
question. Yeah,
Is it
that's clarification.
like a top-down shooting game?
Like R-Type or something.
Yeah, or 1942, that type of game when you're looking
yeah,
down
yeah,
at
yeah.
something.
Like a vertical?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
I think
Yes,
it's
it
easy.
is. Yes, it is.
Ooh.
So quickly
Ooh.
Google vertical shooting games on the Commodore
There's
64.
so
Got
many
it.
like vertical shooting.
Okay, I think I may have.
games.
Is it an arcade port?
Yes.
I'm looking on Wikipedia and it doesn't specify, so I would say no.
Which means it probably was Ed.
Well, I can only go with what's on Wikipedia. Hang on.
Google the game and it'll tell you if if it is or it isn't, that narrows it down quite a bit.
Hang on.
I think.
What have we got? 5 left.
Was the Commodore known for its shooters? I mean, I'm
Hang on,
presuming
hang on.
there's quite a few.
There's hundreds of games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
loads
hundreds
of
on the
shooters.
Commodore. There's
There's
thousands.
got to be some sort of link or clue.
Right, let me go back to that.
we've
According to Wikipedia, I've just searched it, and it does say it is on the arcade platform. So yes,
Okay.
yes.
Ooh.
Arcade scrolling shooter that then got released on the Commodore 64.
And we said it's
My Commodore
vertical shooter.
64 knowledge is nothing.
No.
I've got nothing.
Bubble.
It's going to be down to you guys because I've got
Yeah, I
nothing.
ain't got. No, Commodore 64. I'm not great. Oh. What about that compendium you got?
I think that's an Atari one.
It's an
Ah,
Atari
shit.
one. That'll be no help.
Is because most shooters back in the 80s were like sort of sci-fi-y, weren't they? So is this
Oh,
is it
airplane,
is it
airplane.
in the sci-fi genre, like in terms of its look and aesthetic?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I'd say it was.
Was that a sci-fi game?
it's
Yeah.
sci-fi in its like aesthetic. So I don't think I know.
Again, I can hear some
any.
weird clicking. I can hear some weird clicking noise again. It's very strange.
I write
Very
down
strange.
what we said. I've got a notepad open. That's it.
Sure.
I can hear like a mouse clicking. It's very strange.
Yeah, because I've got a mouse. I'm clicking on my notepad.
Yeah.
Well,
Weird.
I've got nothing.
I've got nothing. It's not. So it's a. It is
There's
a
some good,
sci-fi.
there's some good answers in the chat if you want to.
Okay,
No, because you've already led us down
yeah,
this
you've already
path.
led us
Yeah,
down
I'm
that,
not
Ask
falling
if it's
for
on an
that.
Evercade cartridge. Is it
Unbelievable.
an Evercade cartridge? No.
I mean, I don't know what it's going to be, so I'll just try and ask a question or narrow it down. Is it? We've said it's not based on a movie, but is it based off of something? Like, is it a game made on a franchise or something else?
what was that?
What?
So is it based on something? Does it? I don't know how to phrase it properly, but is it based on something?
Do you mean was there multiple versions or multiple?
No,
games?
like something other than a game. Is there something other than a game that exists based on it?
I don't think so. I'll be
No,
amazed if
there's
there
not
is.
been like a TV series or a book or comic or anything.
I'll be amazed if there is. If
So
I'm honest.
no
I
other,
would say
so
no.
no other media.
No, as far as I'm aware, no. You got 4 left.
Is it part of a? Is there multiple games in this franchise?
Yes.
What's that noise?
Sorry.
That noise.
That's my phone. Just ignore it.
Fine. Quick, he's search on his phone. Door.
That is my daughter texting me
Yeah,
busy. I'm like,
yeah.
yes.
Getting emails through. What is it? Message me what it is, quick.
So it's a top-down shooter, not based off anything else. It was in the arcade, and it's
Crazy
sci-fi
rounded
in
out.
its look.
I wasn't on the Evercade card.
Not
I
an
have.
Evercade
I do you know.
cartridge.
I wouldn't even be able to offer an
tough,
educated
yeah.
guess.
The thing is, there's so many arcade like scrolling shooters.
Yeah,
sci-fi
yeah.
thing. They've got tons
Is-
of different names. There's no way.
Is it
narrow
a?
down.
How many guesses we got left? Not that we're going to get it.
3.
3.
Three.
That's right.
I'm going to sacrifice one of those guesses and say, is it a well-known, popular game that lots of people will know?
Well, I know it.
Yes.
I
That's
would
not what I
say
asked.
once you know what it is, you would have heard of it.
We would have.
So
heard of it.
I would say yes.
Oh man.
See, I think we should be allowed to Google things because even if we can Google to narrow
what's
it
the-
down,
what's the
it's
fun
not
in
going to
that?
guarantee. Well, it's still it's to research, though, isn't it? It's to look at what it could be and narrow it down.
These are getting too hard. You know, we had the good ones like Savengor and Ericsson Football Manager. You know, that was.
Britney's dance beat.
I think once you find out what it is, you're going to kick yourself.
Go on, Ed. I'm going to hand over to you because
I'm trying to think of another way we could narrow.
Anyone in the chat that's got any ideas?
It has to be yes or no questions.
I think without knowing many
Why don't
of
you
the-
think about publishers?
If we narrow it down,
We've only got 2
Oh.
questions.
You have only got 2.
What would be? I'm trying to think. What would be a good publisher at that time?
Okay. Crazy Burgers come up with a very good
No,
suggestion.
I wouldn't suggest
Oh,
that.
okay.
because dogs would
Okay. So
know
this
that
may
that
just
was
be a
in the
total.
arcade.
Is it by? Well, no, I don't think did Psycheo exist back then, guys. Trying to think.
Oh,
I know they put out.
pass.
I'm not allowed to Google, so I can't tell you.
Is it okay? Is it a well-known publisher? I don't know.
Yes, you would have heard of them. I'll be amazed if you haven't heard of them.
Okay.
I've got one.
In fact, I'll be not only amazed, I'll be very, very disappointed. I'll be angry, amazed, and disappointed. So
And
I'll be
disappointed all in one.
I'll have 3 feelings.
Right. Quite.
Well, you got one
Chris.
left.
See, Crazy Burgers also said 1942, but I wouldn't
Yeah,
call that
42.
sci-fi.
No, and I
It's
touched
like
on
one
that earlier,
And he's,
didn't I?
mentioned
Yeah. So
Space
that was
Invaders, but
That's.
I
yeah.
would be shocked if Dorbs didn't know that Space Invaders was in the arcades. Because he said
Was
he
it-
didn't know
was it
Space.
not? Oh.
not
Is it a
Space
game?
Invaders.
Oh no, it's
I've
gonna
only got one
waste
guess
our-
right.
You've got one guess.
Only got one,
Yeah,
yeah.
so just go for it.
You just get a punt.
You're gonna have to just.
Anyone in the chat?
if you-
Anyone in the chat? Come on.
Oh, this
Chat, help us out.
is it. Is it? I'm going to take a stab. Is it
Oh.
Impossible Mission?
No.
Oh,
It's a good guess though.
Mission Impossible.
Right, that's your 20 questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you another clue. Not that you've won, but this is actually in the periodic table. So
Still don't know.
get thinking.
That could. We still need many guesses because there are many things in the periodic
Well,
table.
your 20's up. So let me just get it
oh,
out.
these are getting worse.
It is
I think. We should-
Alkali. Da-da-da-da.
Xenon.
Oh, Xenon.
Xenon. Oh, there.
So
Never get that.
if you actually look at the Bitmap Brothers, I think it is cartridge. Xenon 2 is actually on there. So
Oh
my
so yeah, Xenon.
So your leading question was leading and based on a technicality.
Well, I said I
So
asked you
is it
to
complete?
ask. It is complete. So there's the cassette.
Oh, cool.
Is
You
that-
Very
cheated
clean, very
again.
clean.
Got there's instruction manual. Very nice. What are these? Oh, loads of instructions for different Spectrum C64. And what have we got? Some foreign stuff there. So yeah, Xenon 2.
It's nearly on Evercade card.
We should have asked is the
Shocking.
publisher.
Yeah,
Is the publisher on Evercade? You know, that's what
Yeah, because it was
Yeah.
Bitmap Brothers is the publisher.
Oh.
Ooh.
Was Xenon on the arcade?
It was, according to Wikipedia, it was.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
So well done, fellas. Unlucky, but you know, it's
No
good
chance
effort.
again.
It's very good effort there, actually. You almost got it.
well,
Almost got it.
Well, you
Tune
say
in.
almost got it. I'm not entirely sure we were close.
If you looked up on the periodic table, look up
Tim.
XE, and there it is.
Okay.
these games are getting worse. They're getting worse.
Right, who
Every-
knows? You may see this on Bitmap too.
Yeah, with another version of Speedball, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm
You
just
guys
trying
ought
to
to call
remember.
that Stump the
Bitmap
Chump.
tube in and
'Cause
out.
That's what it feels like.
Okay.
Um,
Well, that kind of takes us to the end of this evening's show. Before we go, I just want to give a plug. 18th of January 2022, we're joined by Alistair Lowe at 8 o'clock GMT, which I believe is a Tuesday night, the creator of the game Flea. So if you don't already, please subscribe to our channel, hit that thumbs up so you don't miss that episode. It's sure to be one. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's just now time to thank Ed for joining us this evening. It's been a really good show. He's been an excellent guest. Do check out Ed's YouTube channel, Retro KillDashNine. The link is in the description of this video. Do go check it out. Do go and subscribe to his channel because he's got some excellent content on there.
Yeah.
And I think Ed's channel is just going to grow and grow. So get on there early because it's always
Thank
best
you.
to be there. It's best to be there early. So unless anyone's got anything else,
Do you want to give you one more death from?
Oh!
Can we guess what it is? Tell us the character.
Yeah,
so we can
give
guess
me
what
the
it is.
character and tell me how you think they died.
What death is in the coffin?
Don't forget the death.
Who
Him
do you
to
want to
make
hear?
one out of
Who do you
balloons.
go
Thank
Right,
you.
what we got?
Um,
What we got?
for? You want? Do you want the? Who do you want to know about?
go on. The detective guy, the one in the
The
Columbo
detective
coat.
Larson. Okay, how do you think Larson died?
So is he a detective?
Well, Larson says
Top of your head.
Larson Tyler is a former cat burglar from 1920 Chicago, and he used to do
Oh.
jobs for local crime boss.
I think he got killed by Al Capone.
Yeah, he's got to
He
be
had concrete
gangster
shoes.
Yeah.
Got cement shoes. Cement shoes. And
I reckon,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
shot in the head.
Shot, cement
Tommy
shoes.
gun.
So along the right way, but he was hired to plant evidence in the hospital room of a rival mafia leader. It was only when he got to the location he discovered that he was the real target, and the evidence was actually a bomb, and Larson was killed in the explosion that destroyed most of the hospital.
Oh wow!
On that
Okay.
note,
No, sorry, the real
Wow.
target, I misread that. The real target was the chief of police, and the evidence was a bomb, and he got killed in the explosion.
Oh, sounds like
happy
a-
days.
So
It's like an episode of 24.
Yeah,
Episode of
well, if you're
Casualty.
just joining us, we are talking about a video game.
Yeah.
I quite like this segment. I quite like this.
I
Can you make
save
it into a balloon?
history, Yeah, I know. Like a diorama of his death in balloons.
Tim's video deaths. I like these.
Yeah, we're actually might make that a regular feature.
Triangle faces
There's only
death.
so many characters. It's not going to last very long. Well, it'll probably I've got like 6 left.
Okay, well, 6 weeks, isn't there? 6 shows.
We'll save them.
Okay.
We'll save them.
Or
Well,
7, yeah,
on
I'll
that
save them.
lovely positive note, keep safe, everyone. Enjoy your week, and we will see you a week Tuesday. So until then, everyone, thanks again, Ed, for joining us.
Yeah,
Good
thanks for
night,
having
good
me.
afternoon,
Bye.
good morning.
Bobby
and,
Slater,
see
see you later.
soon. Bye.
Bye.